tactical game that these guys play. But then, so I saw like these video clips of Jannik Sinner and Swiatek, and the camera was on them only. It didn't show the ball at all. And both these points were, one of them was to close out the set by Jannik Sinner, and the other one was to close out the match by Swiatek. And the absolute physical engagement, the speed at which they were moving, the amount of little steps that they took, is something that we don't typically see it because we follow the ball. But we don't see the little adjustment steps that they take. And then I thought about it, okay, so if right now I ask the coaches in our training program to video and record only the footwork of our players, and we say that's 10 out of 10, what is the highest player out of 10 that we have in our program? And even though we have some players that move incredibly well and work really hard, we're still not even close. And then we go further down to maybe the players that don't move as much, and it's not about the correct type of movement, but it's really about the engagement. And then I come to realize that it's not just moving the right way, it's the engagement and the ability to keep moving that way throughout a match, 3-4 hour match, and then to do a tournament, match after match after match. So as a good exercise, take your footwork. Don't take the match, just zoom in on how you move, because the camera don't lie. But I want to talk a little bit about a champion's culture. And we always talk about our culture here, but we need to clearly define what that culture is. Because unless we actually have some key points that say, hey, this is what we are and our culture, we might talk about culture, but not actually do the right thing. So let's look at Jannik Sinner. Now, a lot of people thought Alcaraz was going to win it, and I'm very happy to say that I was so happy when Jannik won, especially because of his disappointment. Now, let me read you a little something I read this morning. If you could erase all your mistakes of the past, you would also erase all of your wisdom of the present. Remember, a lesson, not the disappointment. So, as Jannik is serving out the match, I remember discussing the fact that he knows exactly what he's going to do. Because in that moment, when he's closing out the match, man, he was up 4th set, Roland Garros, 5-3, love 40, 3 match points, 3 tournament points, and he failed. Imagine how disappointed he was afterwards. And what him and the team did is they sat down and said, hey, listen, let's get over your disappointment. Let's get the lesson. Let's see why. Why did you not do? What could you have done differently? Also paying a lot of respect to Alcaraz, that played absolutely clutch in those moments. So, and then Jannik actually said it in his speech afterwards. He goes, we studied, we knew what to do. What do we do when we lose, when we fail? We're disappointed, and we feel upset, frustrated, whatever the feelings are, and we tend to avoid it. We just want to feel better. We just want to go and sit on the couch, eat something, watch a show that makes us relax, and that's okay. We all want to feel better when we're in a bad place. But by avoiding what happened, let's say Sinner did that. If Sinner avoided how and what happened against Alcaraz, then he probably could have failed again yesterday. But he didn't. He decided to define himself and to go and make the adjustments. So I want to explain to you the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing something. Wisdom is understanding something. And then you have to realize the greatest teacher in life is life. But the lessons are hidden. If you don't go and search for the lesson, you're not going to figure it out. So this is why we see a lot of people, and I take you for example. When you fail, what do you do? Now, the biggest issue what we have when we deal with failure is our egos. Your ego, quite simply, wants you to protect yourself and wants to say, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Or make excuses. It wasn't your fault. It happened because of this. Or the best one is but. Protecting you. Saying, hey, no, you're not all that bad. So you got to go past that. You got to say, hey, what was the reason for me to fail? And then next time when that happens, how am I going to deal with it? So let's look at what I saw in the last moments when Jannik is about to win the match. I saw that he was trying to control the point. He was trying to control the narrative, the situation. He said, hey, I'm not going to leave it up to luck or leave it up to Alcaraz. He had like a promotion mindset. He said, I got to take this. And I remember reading a book, and basically the summary of the book is the secret to life is if you want something, you got to take it. But you got to go a little bit further. If you want something, first and foremost, get out there, take it. But then when you take it, how do you take it? That's the secret to the secret. And this is what Jannik did. He went out there and he controlled the point. He said, if I'm going to take it, it needs to be off my racket. He was proactive. Clarity. What is the meaning of clarity? Clarity means he knew exactly what's happening. He knew exactly what he needed to do. Tactically, he knew this is how I'm going to play it. But I want you to think about that moment. When you're in a match and the stakes are that high, what is the thing that clouds your judgment, that takes your clarity away from you? Our feelings. Because remember, in the previous final, he felt nervous. So, meaning this time, even though he felt nervous, he had to decide that I got to go for it. I have to be brave. So, tactically, they knew what to do. They knew exactly how they want to close it out. But then, when Alcaraz came up with like a really incredible answer to whatever Sinner sent his way, I also saw a lot of discipline. He wouldn't pull the trigger. We already discussed 100% engagement in the final moments. Here's a big one. What did he do when he lost the point? I want us to think about his body language. I want us to think about his eye control. I want us to think about his routines. The thing that we can't see is his attitude, but I think that was a little bit reflected in his body language. Now, if in that moment he's trying to close out the match and he just lost the point, if I could take you into his mind and if you could see what his thinking is like, what would his thinking be? And now if we were able to take that and through like some magical AI device or something, we can see exactly what he was thinking. And then we look at you in that exact same scenario. Then we can compare. But we're not able to do that. And what all the top guys are telling us is that your thinking in the end is what makes the difference. Now I want us to go back and look at what was his thinking like in that final at Roland Garros when he lost. Again, that failure in Roland Garros was one of the reasons why he won yesterday, because he made adjustments. Now, even if even the highest guys, the best guys out there, are able to make adjustments, then I think that's necessary that we understand that constantly for the rest of our lives, even when we get to the top, we'll need to make adjustments. The way he dealt with failure, he accepted it as the truth. He didn't resist it. And by accepting it, what did he do? He stopped the turbulence. He emotionally stayed calm, level-headed. He stayed controlled. But the moment he was fighting it and complaining and negative about the fact that he lost the point, he creates emotional turbulence. And we know when emotional turbulence happens, we lose clarity. When we lose clarity, we stop seeing the ball, timing goes off, preparation goes off, we make bad decisions. I don't think at any moment was he negative. Did anybody see negative body language from either one of the two players? Self-belief, confidence. Was he nervous? Was he afraid? Yes, but he didn't act that way because he believed in the process, the plan that they had in place. So how does self-belief work? If you go like, hey coach, I'm like stuck at a 3 or a 2 UTR level, how do you want me to have self-belief? How do you want me to have confidence? Okay, let's look at Sinner. When he was a 2 or a 3, how did he have self-belief? How did he have confidence? Dad showed up to tennis, wrote a check, and said, hey, we'll take 1 self-belief, 3 confidence. It doesn't work that way. So how did he do it? Because if we understand how that player, now incredible, got self-belief and confidence, then maybe we can do that as well. It's simple. Doing a lot of small things well. Practice after practice. Day after day. Week after week. Match after match. Tournament after tournament. And in doing those small things, every time you do something well, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. But when you do something well, how do you feel about yourself? You're like, oh man, I feel good. Now, we run around the court, we warm up in the mornings, and I'm paying attention. I'm going like, okay, who's taking shortcuts? Whose mentality is about what they do versus how they do it? Because it is the how that creates the champion, not the what. If it was what you do, any and everybody can be a champion. So let's go back again. Jannik figured that out early in his life. He started late at 13 or 14, and he figured out that, hey, how I do it, the quality gives me self-belief, gives me confidence, and then I keep repeating it till it becomes consistent. And therefore, excellence lies in consistency. So no, it's not 10,000 hours, it is 10,000 quality hours. And each and every one of you guys here, very capable of that. But you gotta not take shortcuts. And when you're running around the court, are you cutting corners? Back at home, are you cutting corners? Because if at home you're cutting corners, be careful. It can become a pattern of behavior. A pattern of behavior means I'm used to taking shortcuts, I'm used to not taking care of detail, I'm negligent. Guess what? That becomes my mode. That becomes my default setting. So, does it matter? Now, it brings me to the next thing is, does every moment matter? Yes, it does. Does your moments off the court matter? Yes, it does. Because if it didn't, and it didn't affect the mode that we go into, then okay, yes. But we're creatures of habit. It's not just tennis players. We're creatures of habit. Let me talk to you about like one of the most successful rugby teams in the world. They went from a losing team, inconsistent. Now, you don't need to follow rugby, you just need to follow the storyline here. And the new coach comes in, creates a new culture. And he goes, first and foremost, we're going to talk about ego. I'm not going to use the word that he uses. He goes like, there's no room for in this team. Second, you're going to fail. And when you fail, how does that affect your attitude and your mindset? And we look at Sinner, and when he failed, he was disappointed, but he shook it off. He moved on. He took the lesson. His ego didn't want to protect him. He said, I failed. It didn't lessen his self-belief. It didn't take away his confidence. And in the next moment, he said, hey, this is the moment I'm going to take care of. This moment is the only thing that matters. Because if I neglect this one, then that becomes a pattern of behavior. I'm going to neglect the next one. If I'm not taking care of the detail of this moment, I'm going to do it again. So Sinner had to go and look at his patterns. He had to look at how he dealt with failure. And we know now that in tennis, you will fail more than any other sport. So again, when you fail, let it go. Have a short memory. I love the show, I don't know how many of you guys watch it, Ted Lasso. And he says, man, be a goldfish. Goldfish is the happiest animal on earth. Because 1 second later, memory is gone. Shortest memory. So, you got to be like a goldfish. That's what he says to the soccer players. He goes, move on. It's not the end of the world. But don't let it steal your attitude, your mindset, your energy, all these things that we looked at. And most of all, don't let it make you negative. Don't let it steal the quality of the next moment. So, in conclusion, when I take tennis away from Sinner, this is what I see. I see respect. Huge respect for his opponent. Even for the ball boys. He's humble. Because he's humble, he checks his ego. says, okay, I failed, but watch me now. He's grateful. And he was so grateful to his team. He gave them all the credit right at the end. I don't know if you guys saw that. He's like, hey, thanks to my team, we studied it. He's not defined by failure. So, when we take tennis away from you, who are you? And that is important, because who you are will make a difference to the skills that you're going to acquire. How are you going to master those skills? All right. Wish you guys all the best with that. All right.